Everyone, we'd like to welcome you to the regular meeting of Nicholas County Board of Education, Monday, May 20th, 2024. And at this time, if you'll stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Please join the board with the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, number 3, approval of the agenda. Anything we need to add?
Yeah, we have well, it's actually 2 adjustments. It's both on personnel. It's on the second page of personnel. And at the top of the page, it has the name Brittany Murphy. We need to strike Brittany Murphy from accepting that position that she applied for. And then under resignations, we need to add the name of Brittany Murphy as an aide. She resigned her position last night. But that's the only items that I have.
Okay. Number 4, budget hearing, 2024-25 school year.
Okay, so just quickly, because I know we have people waiting for bigger things. This was put out on our website, excuse me, 10 days ago for the public to review and to comment if they had any questions or any kind of comment to make. I don't know of any questions or comments by the public. So at this point then, the board would adopt the budget as presented, and then it would go, it'll go to the state for approval. So.
The one in the middle.
That?
There you go.
Oh,
Slide it.
well, I was trying to. Okay. All right. So the most important issues with this budget, as compared to last year's budget, there is an increase in the total budget. Last year's total budget was about $48.8 million, and this year's combined between the general current expense and the special revenue fund and taking out the transfers is $52.4 million. Some things to note, we don't have ESSER money this year. The ESSER money that we have right now will have to have spent out by September, and there's no more years of that. So this COVID money that we have had to be able to use to do some extra things, we're not going to have any longer. So we're going to have to make some concessions for that. We had an increase in our state aid to schools in spite of the fact that we do have a decreasing enrollment. Teachers and service people got raises this year. So that's built into the state aid formula, so that's why there's an increase in state aid. And our property taxes, the assessed values went up just a little bit, not super significant, so that would attribute an increase in that. Estimated beginning balance here, $3.6 million is what we would have to essentially borrow from our fund balance in order to balance the budget next year. Which is not wonderful, but that's what's going to have to happen in order to make up for some of these excess costs. One biggie that we have is a very increased food cost in the past couple of years. So we've had to budget more money there to cover possible increases in food costs for next year and increases in salaries. Those are the biggest things to note, and like I said, that has been out on our website for the public to look at, and it'll stay on our website if anybody wants to look at this. You know, we always invite any questions or comments, but as far as tonight, you guys would just need to adopt this budget, and like I said, then it would go on to the state, and the state would approve the budget.
So Kristen, all the cuts that we made in the spring, we cut about $1 million. If
That's
we
right.
hadn't have cut that, we would,
We would be in much worse shape. We would be at about 4.6
so
of carryover being used.
next year, we're gonna have to cut even more.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll need to, yeah, look at what needs to be done to make that happen. This number last year in the budget was about 2.3 million. So, you know, that was significant too, but we're on the wrong trend. We need to go up instead of down. So, yeah, so there's some things to work on, but yeah, this is where we are right now.
Is one of the reasons for this financial issue, the number of subs we're having to use, the sub costs?
The sub costs are pretty extreme, honestly. I know that Peggy has said when she's keying in subs, it's pages and pages and pages and pages. So that's pretty significant. We get a little bit of money from the state to cover sub costs, but not nearly what we're paying out in subs. So yeah, that's definitely.
Well, we're not the only county that's having that issue.
No, I think that's pretty.
Statewide, because they don't have the teachers have no incentive, the aides have no incentive to keep those days.
Right, the people that were hired after a certain date are not able to use their days. Like, people who have been in the system longer are able to use theirs. So, yeah, that's a good point.
And the money they provide for substitutes is not equal to what we have to pay out for substitutes.
Right, yes, it's not based at all on the substitutes that we use.
If
It's
you have
just
a
based
very
on the
experienced substitute, they make pretty good money. And so it's hard to know exactly how much to budget for subs because you don't know where your subs going to be coming from and how many you're going to have.
And it's been this way for as long as I have known about the budget, but, you know, the state funds us based on what our enrollment is and based on our population density. They take all these things into consideration and they say, here's the amount of teachers that we're going to give you money for. We think that you can cover all these students with this much money. But, you know, we have unique situations where we have more kids in one school than another school, and so then, you know, if this classroom is a couple of students over, then we have to add a teacher, and just various little things like that. So we have been over formula, what they call it, when we are paying more teachers than we are being funded for, or over formula. So we have been over formula for a lot of years, and we've been able to maintain that, but we just have to be really careful about that. We historically have had about 20 professionals and 20-ish or more service people over the formula. So, and the counties that don't have an excess levy and who are really trying to be very careful about their money and have to be, they don't go over formula. They strive to stay under formula. So we've been really lucky that we have been able to fund the positions that we have. And, you know, I'm not suggesting that we are going to have to just cut that down to nothing, but yeah, we're just going to have to be aware of ways that we can cut our costs and be more efficient with our staff.
I think it's fair to say that over time, we're going to have to start, you know, when we get retirements or resignations, we have to look at every single position, decide if we have to have that position or not. If we don't, then we don't. And that's how you reduce your budget without, disemploying people, for lack of a better word, unemploying people.
Right. And this is not, it's not really pointed out here, but within this budget, there are 100 and some students that have gone to charter schools. So for every student that we lose for charter schools, we lose about $8,000.
Homeschool.
For that.
Any of that stuff.
Well, what it is in the formula is the state will fund charter schools.
So
So
you use that
they're
fund.
like, okay, here's the money that you would have gotten in Nicholas County,
Right.
but your kids are going to charter schools, so we're sending this money instead to these charter schools. So in this budget for this year, that's about $214,000 that we are losing just from charter schools. And that doesn't really count, I mean, there's other, kids that are going to homeschool. I know that that's a trend everywhere in the state, not just Nicholas County. So every time that happens, then we're losing about $8,100 for every student that decides that or every parent who decides to homeschool their children. So that's something to consider. Like I said, that's a statewide.
So
trend,
at
that's
the
not
beginning
just us.
of the personnel season, we were 82 positions over.
And that's kind of a weird year. We're never really over that much, but that was including the
COVID.
positions that we were covering with COVID. And then we started doing we were doing the ECATs for second grade. So then that came in also. So that's, that sounds like a terrible number, but it's not really as bad as it sounded, because we have to cut those positions that were paid for with COVID money, because there is no more COVID money too.
So how many we over now?
Well, I have to look and see. We're still changing, we're still filling positions where positions were cut, and still putting more people in those positions. But hopefully, let's see, I think, I have to ask Kelly, did you cut, are we saying 12 service?
Oh, no, I think it was more service than that. Yeah, it was probably, I have to go back and look. Can I send you an email? I'll have to go back and look at the exact, because I can get it before the end of the meeting.
No, that's fine.
But something to note there was, those were mostly, those were the COVID aides. We had 13 COVID aides. So then when we cut those positions, but then those aides were able to go into other positions. So it should end up that everybody is going to lose a job because of that. They would just have to go to a different position. I think that Kelly did a good job of trying to juggle that to try to get rid of those without harming the people who had taken those positions.
Yeah, Chris, now, I looked at it, I think it'd be interesting for the people here. There were some good subcharts to back this budget. And basically what's happened is, just like everybody says, it's not unique to us, it's happened all over the state, all over the nation. But the one formula they had in 1995, Nicholas County had 5,083 students. 30 years later, last year, we had 3,345 students. Although they have addressed the state aid formula, 30 years ago, our state aid formula was 24 million. Now it's 20, last year was 25 million, it's going to go to 27 million. So they have adjusted the state aid formula, but if you take only going up $2 to $3 million over the last 30 years, what inflation has done, everybody knows costs are going up, salaries are going up. So basically, inflation, is impacting the budget. And you have you've got a lot of schools, a lot of fixed facilities, a lot of utilities, and a lot of that fixed salaries that's now being spread over 2,000 less students. And that's what's happened to the board. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
That state aid formula's gone up, but it's only gone up $3 million in the last 30 years. And that's got beat up by inflation.
That covered.
And in the past few years, well, probably in correlation with COVID, our food costs have gone up so much, and there's not much can be done about that. And thank goodness that we have a levy to help us take care of some of that issue. And PEIA, when I first started here and we were budgeting, we would kind of consider that PEIA for family coverage would cost about $10,000. And now it's about $16,300 is what the county pays for each person who has family insurance through PEIA. And that's expected to keep increasing also. So we do get some state aid funding for that, but not for the people who are over the formula. So for all the people that we have employed in excess of the formula, that's just a cost that we have to absorb. So that's a big chunk.
Any other discussion?
Oh. The positions that were saved this year, service was 26 and professional was 16. But like I said, the way that was configured is hopefully in a way that those persons in those positions were still able to fill other positions because we had so many positions that were filled with a long-term sub. So in that way, we were able to maximize with the retirements. We were able to not have to lose our people, but be able to cut positions that were not efficient, maybe.
So if we don't have certified people in positions October 1st, we don't get funded for them the next year. Then you compound that with the full-time sub you got in for the rest of the year, so you're eating up your sub costs, you're not getting on the opposite end when you get your funding for the next year, because you didn't have a certified person October 1st. This kind of bad situation.
These numbers just kind of back up what I had up here before, which is the budget for review. So again, that's on our website. If anybody has any questions or ever wants more information about that, that'll be up there.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the budget?
Make the motion.
Mr. Green made the motion, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Ferguson. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, next, number 5, approved minutes of the meetings held on May 6, 2024. Any corrections to those?
I saw none, I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Moose makes a motion to approve, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Ferguson. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Number 6, superintendent's information updates.
Just a few quick announcements more than anything else. Last Friday, we hosted the Nicholls County Retired Teachers Association came here and had their meeting. They had a meeting here in the fall, and we invited them back, and so they came back last Friday, and our ProStar provided a nice meal for them. I think they had a really good day. They had a really large turnout, and I think they appreciated being here. So we're always good to see our retired people back at our board office. Graduation is coming up this week. Richwood High School is at 7 o'clock Thursday at Dean Memorial Field, weather permitting. If it rains, they'll have it in the red gym at Richwood. Graduation for Nicholls County High School is Friday at 7 o'clock at the Summersville Arena and Conference Center. The last day for students is Thursday, May 30th with a 3-hour early out. And finally, we want to thank the community, the county, the citizens for supporting our levy that was passed last week. I know there was some rumors out there that the levy had failed. The news outlets actually reported that our levy failed, but where they were confused was if you try to run a school bond, you have to have 60% approval. We didn't run a school bond, we ran a school excess levy, which only requires 50% plus 1 vote. and ours passed, I think it was 57 or 58%, something like that. So we appreciate that, and that's something that we'll be able to continue offering the services we offer our kids now with the free meals and free ball games and all the different things that we provide for our students all the way through June of 2031, which means we do not have to run the levy again until the 2030 election year. So I'll be long gone to then, it'll be somebody else's problem to worry about. So, but again, we thank you for the passing of the school levy, and that's all I have. Oh, I had one other thing. I left all the board members a copy of this self-appraisal. Your homework for the next month is to go through here and fill this out. There's, I don't know how many questions there are here. There's 29 questions, I think, maybe a few more, where it's just, you have to answer each of these questions, strongly agree, disagree, whatever, and then bring it back at the July 1st board agenda, or board meeting, and then we will compile all that information and provide it to the state. We don't need to do it until July 1st, because it has to be in the state's hands by August 15th now. So you have a whole month to go through that and do it. There is a copy of the last one that the board did on how it's going to look. You'll get the results back as a pie chart. It'll show you how many agreed or disagreed with any particular question. So that's your homework for you have a month to complete it. Thank you.
And before I forget, I need your all's evaluation of the superintendent, so I can turn that over. That's yours. Okay. Number 7, recognition. Dr. Lee.
Okay, well, today we're here to celebrate and honor the exceptional dedication and perseverance of a remarkable group of teachers who have successfully completed an intensive 2-year professional development program. If you can remember way back when, might even be before you were here, Mr. Ferguson, we talked about LETTERS, which stands for the Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. And it is a premier professional development experience for teachers. And we did it on a voluntary basis, and we had 9 people that were willing to step up and dedicate this much time of their life to this, and they have finished now. So as we celebrate their accomplishments today, we're also looking forward to the transformative effect your enhanced expertise will have on the lives of countless students. And not to worry, I have been looking at the STAR Early Literacy. They've got it going on. But your journey of growth and development is a testament to your passion for teaching and your dedication for fostering a brighter future for your next generation. So congratulations on reaching this significant milestone. Your hard work, perseverance, and dedication are truly commendable. So we're going to be calling you up here and let you receive a certificate. Everybody who participated will receive a certificate. Those that completed all aspects of the 8 online modules will also have an envelope. There's a little something in there for you. However, you have to get it back to me before you go on summer break. Mr. Bean, you want to come shake hands?
Yeah, what we'll do is have the board members come down here and let all the ladies, gentlemen come up here that receive the award, and we'll get one picture with all of them at one time.
First up is Emily Pryor. Nikki Swagger. Kelly Thompson. Ronnie Porter. Ashley Gladwell. Adam Rose. Crystal Hayhurst. Tamara Marks. I think she was able to make it. Can you deliver that tomorrow? And Christy Cottrell.
I got one more finish.
You have to get the picture.
Oh, no, I don't need it.
You kept up with us for 2 years.
I did my best. I cheered you on. But did I not tell you it would be one of the best opportunities for learning about teaching reading? Did you get it?
Thank you all.
Any insight from this experience that you want to share with the board members? Because this is a totally different way of doing PD than we've ever done before. Any brave souls there want to share anything?
I've been nominated. They seem to like me interjecting when we have our meetings. So, it's not a lot, guys, and this was more from my point of view than everybody else's. But I want to let everyone know this letters course that I and everybody else participated in was an amazing learning opportunity. Okay? I'm very pleased to have it mostly completed. I'm not quite done. Okay? This coursework introduced me to the basics of learning. I teach secondary school. I teach 8th grade English. We had several that were elementary, some early elementary, some later elementary, and 3 middle schoolers, one 6th grade, one 7th grade, and one 8th grade. So we had all of middle school covered between the 2 schools. It was amazing. It introduced us to me, it introduced to phonemes, graphemes, morphemes. I didn't learn about that in college. Okay, I'm secondary. Gave me some skills to help understand then how younger children are learning, how those transfer then to middle school. That was our first volume. The second volume got more into upper elementary and middle school and some of those skills that should have been transferred. And it was amazing. It was amazing for me. So easily to adapt to whichever grade level, whether it's little or 8th grade. The comprehension, the textual and comprehension, the understanding reading and comprehension, the reading and writing connection, the skills they taught and the handouts and things that they used that we can utilize within our classroom as well were just overwhelmingly usable. So usable and relative to what we're needing to get to try to make up for what these students have missed from COVID and what we're missing in trying to get our poverty-stricken area to understand the importance of reading and communication. Okay? And me, I saw some growth in the 4th 9 weeks. After I finished all of the team learning, and I was able to implement some things, I saw some growth in my struggling readers. What am I going to be able to do next year when I get to start the year with this stuff? I'm so excited to start a new year with all of these skills and handouts and abilities and team members to work with to implement this LETTERS program that has proven results in other schools, that I know will prove results in Memphis County schools. So thank you all for offering this training program. Thank you very much.
we're at the portion of the meeting that most of you are here for, a lot of you are here for, and that's to celebrate our retirees. And we're going to have a little reception afterwards, after we introduce everybody, we get a picture with each of you individually with the board. We'll have about a 15-minute break for some cake and drinks. We're going to start with, they put these in order for me. Start with the ones with the least years. And the first one is Betsy Martin. So Betsy, would you come up, please? Betsy had Next, you have Margaret Hickman, one of our bus drivers. Carolyn Connell has 15 years as a clerk at Somersville Middle School. Sabrina Moore, 16 years as a cafeteria manager at Somersville Middle School.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Nicholas Belmont, 16 years experience. I was actually in his classroom, I think the last day he was teaching. And I made the note in his classroom that he was working to the very last day. He wasn't just putting in time. He was working. Annie Groves, Somersville Elementary School teacher with 17 years experience.
Thank you.
Larry Neff, 18 years, bus driver.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Smile now.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Ralph Sangari. Ralph here? He's snuck out.
That's why we're.
Jeannie Butler. Kelly Witt, 20 years experience. Kelly not here?
We already gave hers.
Yeah, Nina Bragg, she's an aide at Gully River, and she was actually working in my office the other day, and she picked up her certificate for me that day. So Nina was here with us for 20 years. Karen Adkins, aide, Somersville Middle School, 23 years service.
Thank you. You're starting, you start too,
Smile, everybody.
Bonnie Ritchie, 25 years. Deanna Sweeney, 25 years, aide at Summersville Elementary, not here. Connie Rader, 26 years service, Panther Creek Elementary School was her last school. Leslie Mullins sent me a text today and said she could not come, but she retires with 30 years experience. Her last position was Cherry River Elementary School PE teacher, so Leslie Mullins. Barbara Vest, 30 years experience. Lydia Young, 33 years experience, just retiring as our Director of Special Education, former principal, and
You better say I was
all-around
director last.
good,
You
all-around
didn't- you made
good
me
guy.
work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Glenn, you're not allowed to
Last
speak.
but not least,
He said he
Last
wasn't,
but
he
not
said he
least.
wasn't, he told me earlier he backed out.
What are you trying to think of?
well, there's so many things. Glenn was a principal a year or so before I started. What year did you start?
1970.
I started, well, you're a few years ahead of me. I didn't start as a principal until 70, I was in 76. But he was old then. But he still has, I'm jealous of him because of all the hair he still has. But Glenn's one of these guys that always has a smile on his face. He always makes everybody happy around him. He's been, how many different schools?
Maybe, you know what, 7 or 8?
Which either tells you that a lot of people wanted him or a lot of people didn't. Which it is.
I had to keep on the move. I had to keep
But I said this to Super Scholars, there's only one Glenn Tyree, and it's impossible to replace. And his enthusiasm and his love of kids is just so apparent every time you're around him, and we're going to miss him a lot. But Glenn, congratulations.
Thank you, Terry.
50 years experience.
He's gonna give a speech.
I'm gonna get your t-shirt that says I survived the Ferguson days.
I made it. Thank you, guys.
You'll see him on his motorcycle.
2003. 2003, I tried retirement. I tell people I flunked that. But I've had a great time doing this job, so thank you all.
Let's take about a 15-minute break, have some cake. Everybody partake. Janet made us a wonderful cake here. Got some drinks, and then we'll get back to our regular work.
All right, our recess is over. Next, we have delegations. Do we have any delegations, Ms. Kim?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Presentation discussion, Norval Clark with Five Rivers Cooperative.
Yes.
Hello. I'll do this first. Again, my name is Norval Clark. I'm with Five Rivers Cooperative, and I was here maybe 18 months ago. And you directed me to Sherry Mountain. And in it, because Five Rivers Cooperative is exactly what it is. It's a cooperative of now 11 different growers in eastern Nicholas County, Pocahontas County. But we collaborate with about 62 other farms throughout the state. And the reason I'm here is that, and I didn't even realize it until I started working with the West Virginia Department of Education, that the pricing for produce had been so inconsistent for a lot of years, with an exception, and that's been Ms. Mountain. She is consistently purchased, and in background, I have been sending this information, my sales information, to this West Virginia Department of Education, specifically Melinda Francis. And now there's a little confusion, because I had a conversation with Ms. Mao, and she didn't really understand why I'm here, because I'm here to ask that we be allowed to continue working with Ms. Mao, getting her assistance in providing pricing that works for her and for Nicholas County, the Nicholas County School Board. Okay, because some counties are not even working. Some nutrition coordinators are not, they're not discussing what's going on. I don't know what it is. All I know is that the West Virginia Department of Education is extremely impressed with, even though our numbers are not great, they're extremely impressed in how I work with Ms. Mountain. Now, Ms. Mountain asked another question. She says, I've called other counties and they've never heard of Five Rivers, and that's true, because we're one of 62 different farms. So for example, if she calls Fayette County, my produce will go to Fayette County schools through an organization called New Roots Community Farms. If it's in Pocahontas County, it'll probably go through an organization called High Rocks or Ruby Grove. If it goes to Greenbrier County, again, Ruby Grove. But there is a collaboration of farmers, and all of these farmers are working for, and what we're asking is that the pricing becomes consistent. And Ms. Mowell is very helpful in that area. And that's what's impressed the Department of Education, and specifically Ms. Melinda Francis. And so if I'm confusing people, I apologize, but we're just moving forward because we have submitted a grant for what's called fair market produce pricing, and that data is going to be collected in a number of counties and tabulated so that a price that works for the school boards and the schools, and also provides a living and a decent wage to farmers, is collectively created. That's our goal. My presentation, and I apologize because it's real clear that what I'm talking about is somewhat new to a lot of school boards, and and not just school boards, WVU, West Virginia State, Bluefield, all of them, because I come into this coming from Silicon Valley, but I grew up in the Salinas Valley of California. My parents are from Beckley and from outside of Sophia. So I always came to West Virginia, and in West Virginia, and I graduated from high school when that man started teaching. I graduated in 1970, so I'm 71 years old. I've always grown up around agriculture. People have this misconception about California. California's #1 business is agriculture, and the other two combined don't meet those numbers. If you've ever heard of Del Monte Foods, if you're used to iceberg lettuce, that's where I'm from. Artichokes, that sort of thing. I grew up in the Monterey County, the Salinas Valley. And the one thing that was always known in California was pricing. Pricing, I was also a legislative aide for Leon Panetta when he was a congressman. And this was one of my duties, was to find out what was necessary for the farmers to be profitable in Salinas Valley. And farmers were very adamant about one thing, and they said this: I do not put anything in the ground unless it's already sold. They do not grow and hope to get a price. They know the price before they start growing. And there is a substantial difference in knowing that. I'm not asking the school board to do anything out of the ordinary. We just want to know what the price is so that we know how to grow. Does that make sense? And that's the goal. And that's the educational experience that's going on throughout the 55 counties. Is a shift from just growing and hoping that it's being purchased to what's the fair price? This is what we can grow to meet those prices. I hope that helped a little bit. Ms. Mal, I'm not sure. But that's my presentation. I would love, and the goal is I want to continue working with her. She's already told me that some of the pricing we're going to have to renegotiate, and I'm really okay with that. I, in fact, want to do that because it's important to know moving forward what the price is so that you, let's put it this way, if I know the price, I know the quantity to produce. You following me? I know the quantity to produce so that it's profitable. If I don't know the price, I'm in the dark. And that's just not a good situation for farming, especially since we're trying to develop an agricultural presence that we used to have before World War II. That's it. And again, I'm telling you now, if she gets ready to retire, I need a 5-year notice. Okay? All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, action items, discussion with possible action on the selection of the architect for the Nicholas County High School MIP project.
We, as you all know, we received, actually we got the confirmation letter this week, $1 million to replace the sewer system in Nicholas County High School. We had, by requirement, we advertised for bids for architects to consider if they were interested in pursuing, helping to create this project. We had 2 applicants. One was ZMM, the architects that we're currently working with, and the other one was New River Engineers Incorporated, a company I had not heard of. But anyway, Mr. Stump, Mrs. Weitzel, and myself conducted phone interviews today with the 2 companies. And after we did that, I do have a copy of the scoring that we did that you all are certainly can look at and pass that around. Based on the questions we asked them and how we felt about the 2 companies, our recommendation is going to be to hire ZMM as our architect for this project. ZMM already is familiar with our school system, with our personnel. They have experience in doing these very similar projects. They also gave us a very shorter timeline to complete the project than New River did. New River's estimated, and Mrs. Weitzel can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they said from start to finish somewhere between 24 and 36 months to complete it. Whereas ZMM was somewhere less than a year, was their estimation. I think New River, they've not worked with SBA before, and they have not worked in school systems before. They are doing a project right now, or getting ready to do a project with Mon County for sewer system at Morgantown High School, but I don't think they've gotten themselves into it far enough yet to understand the timelines necessary to do a project like this. And you know, $1 million project, it's hard for me to understand how a company would commit 2 or 3 years of work to a $1 million project. That just doesn't seem to be cost effective to me. It just seemed to me that ZMM was much more suitable to our needs, and that's why we're making the recommendation. And the scoring sheet, it was based on a score of 100, and ZMM score was much higher than the New River. And New River may be a really good company. I think they're a younger company just getting started, and we appreciated them requesting an interview for this. But at this current time, we prefer to go with a company we're familiar with and currently working with.
Okay. Action item B, discussion with possible action on the contract with Art Cart.
We've had Art Cart services during this current school year for our Title I schools. If you remember Kate, she was here earlier. At your all's directives, you asked me to find some grant funding to offer this to the other schools, the non-title schools. So we had an online meeting with them, and she was able to put together a proposal for the non-title schools that were interested. And that's what that is.
How many were interested in that, the non?
3 of the 4.
3?
Where's the funding coming from? How's it going to pay that $36,000?
Additional title dollars, things that we were able to move to other things, freed up some money in those titles where we have, like the art, we can shuffle a little bit.
So everybody had the opportunity.
They all had the opportunity, yes.
That's all you can do.
Yep.
So with these 3 schools, how many Title I schools we have?
5, I think. Yeah, 2 schools.
So they got a number.
7. Golly River and Summersville have elected not to. Summersville has an in-house art
I
teacher.
got you. Any questions for Dr. Lee?
Would the price be any different if there were more schools?
No, it's funded, she calculates the materials based on the actual number of students enrolled.
$2,000 a week.
That
They have a lot of
2,000
good
paid
stuff.
material and personnel.
Personnel.
Yeah.
And their travel and everything. So it's paid for with federal money, basically. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Any other questions?
looked like a good program to me.
Okay, thank you. Action item C, discussion with possible action on the revision of policy 0147, board members' compensation.
And this policy is one that if the board approves it, we'll go out on comment for 30 days in order to get it approved before the July 1st deadline. And it's in lockstep with the new policy passed by the state this year. It changes, our policy changes it from being $160 per meeting to the state-approved payment guidelines, which for this, at this time, will be $260 a board meeting. Is that correct, Ms. Weitzel, 260?
It moves it out
To 260, right. But it does reduce the number of board meetings from 50 to 40 for one fiscal year. But members can be paid for up to 5 more meetings for certain purposes such as personnel hearings, student expulsion hearings, which like we said earlier, we had 60 of those this year. School closing hearings, which we will be having this fall, and or to cope with a disaster like happened with COVID. So members also could be paid up for 2 trainings that they take. The other part of the policy is at the very bottom. And it talks about changing the required hours for board employees to go from, or board members to go from 7 to 12 hours. So those are the two major changes. We did not want to put a dollar amount in the policy because they may change it next year again, and then you have to change the policy again. So we decided to leave the number out and just simply go with the meetings, the required number of meetings that we're allowed to have and the required number of amount we're allowed to pay our board members. I think we are going to run into an issue next year if things continue with expulsions like they are. Expulsions are on the rise with all the vapes that we're dealing with. And as mentioned earlier, these guidelines you have, when a principal makes a recommendation for expulsion, you've got 10 days to act on it. And if a board meeting doesn't fall right in there, if it falls in the 10 days, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because you still have to give the parents notice, adequate notice, so they can plan to be here. So it's a real tight window, and so I'm afraid we're going to be having a lot of these, like we have this coming Wednesday, with student expulsion hearings and those kinds of board meetings. So, we may have to look at what we do in the future with the number of board meetings we schedule. But that's what the policy looks like in case, if you all would like to put it on the docket for comment, then we can get it approved at the June 20th, I think, June 17th board meeting, and it'll be in effect for July 1 of next year. And that's all I have on that policy.
Okay, any discussion on that?
I think there was a email came out, I think today, from Jim Brown with the school board on this and what some counties were doing versus other counties were doing. And although this, I don't know if you looked at that, Kelly, or whoever is looking at that, but he talked about it may be okay with law. I think Darrell McGraw, the former Attorney General, was okay with it, but whether it was ethical and there was another, whether it was. And what a lot of them were doing were approving it, maybe not even to kick in this year till, I didn't read the whole thing, but I read it, and there was, the other thing, I want to make sure our policy kind of goes along with the guidelines of the state. They did put an email out on that. I don't know if y'all saw it. It came in late today, late afternoon.
Our policy follows the state superintendent's interpretation of what board members can do, because you did not, you are following the legislative action. But the question has not been asked to the Ethics Commission, so they have not provided a ruling.
Did you see what Jim was saying? Did you read that part of it?
I didn't get that, but in our last superintendent's update or meeting, they said that the superintendent's interpretation and the Attorney General's interpretation was that by enacting a board policy, we are within the guidelines.
Yeah, and what the email basically said was that some of the counties were going ahead and enacting. Some of the counties were waiting or making their action a future action. In other words, it wasn't going to kick into a certain date. I just want to be comfortable when we vote on something that it sounds like there's still some debate over.
And that's why we didn't put a dollar amount, we put what the state says. So you're not actually setting the dollar amount, the state is the one.
Well, I like that.
Yeah, next year they could actually drop the amount, and it would still be in line with our policy.
That was the only comment I had. Just, like I said, that came out today. I read a little bit, but not enough to go in depth.
Okay, action item D, discussion with possible action on the revision of the coaches' pay policy. Anybody have any questions on that discussion?
I did have a couple comments on it. One, it looked like, and it was probably just a presentation error, for lack of a better word. It looked like the golf coach and assistant golf coach was not a party to that document. I think it's probably left off in error. And also, when we vote on it, I think it should be noted that we will be, we're recommending that we post an additional soccer coach at Nicholas County High School, so that right now we presently have one coaching both the boys and the girls and an assistant, and I think they'll post one just for the boys and one just for the girls.
So which two did you say was left off?
I think the golf coach and assistant golf coach at the high school, Nicholas County High School, I don't think I saw that on there. Might have missed it. I saw about everything else on there, but I did not see.
I believe you're right.
I did not see that list.
Any other discussion? Okay, discussion with possible action on the contract with Kathy Collier for professional learning.
I don't see anything that tells me what it is, or what it concerns, or all I see is an $1,800 bill.
Professional learning sessions.
Doesn't say.
I believe, seeing Christie was here, I believe that one is for back to school with, yes, de-escalation and behavior.
It says on June 4th, so
And K through 2.
Oh, no. That one is writing, sorry, my mistake.
Yeah, there is.
Kathy is the one for Somerville Elementary. Each school was allotted an amount of money with the art, or, get up there, school-based academy for planning for how they're going to address student gaps from COVID from here on out. Should they have that in the month of June? And this school for Somerville Elementary is having some deficits in writing. So each principal is designing their own school-based academy, and this is one of the speakers or the trainers that she has coming in for writing.
and paid for with federal money?
Yes, it's all out of art. And that's the same thing for letter F. A couple of the schools are going together. Some of our high poverty schools, this is the company that does Ruby Payne training that you're probably familiar with.
How long does it last?
I believe the writing one is well, actually, I think both of them are a day. The Ruby Payne one might be 2 days. I'd have to look back.
No, it says 8 to 3, June 7th.
Where are you seeing that? I'm not getting that.
Right on the contract. No, that's on the second one, on the Kathy Collier. It doesn't give a time, it just says June 4th. I'm sure it's at least a 6-hour day. Are the teachers, do they get a stipend or anything? Okay.
Yes. And each principal was asked to design their own based on what their
School
school
needs.
data is. So some schools are having everybody come, some are targeting particular areas. It's all been designed by their school teams.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, ma'am. Okay, if there's not any other discussion, do we have a motion to approve action items A, B, C, D, E, and F.
Just one quick question before we vote. On A, I didn't have a chance to ask a question. We're approving the architect.
Yes.
And I understand that. Did the architect give any indication of how they're going to fix that problem? Are they going to, I've heard tear it out, the whole new system in, or are they going to try to put new piping down the old piping? I just didn't know if they discussed that at all.
I think they have to go in, they have to do a diagnosis on it first to find out. You know what they told us today?
They're gonna run a camera and see what is left that is usable and what is not. It's anticipated that most of it will be a complete new, a pipe, not within another one, maybe beside.
So the architect's going to decide the plan of action and then put it out to bid?
Yeah, they said it'd take about 2 months to design the project.
Gotcha.
And then
That makes sense, I'm sorry.
No,
Wait a minute, we haven't looked at F, have we?
she was talking about F. She talked about E and F at the same time.
Oh, they're combined.
Yeah, well, no, they're not combined, but for different schools that are professional development.
Oh, okay,
And that's what
okay.
the school chose to do.
Same thing?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's paid for with federal money.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or discussion? So we have a motion to approve the action items.
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Moose makes a motion, seconded by Mr. Berry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, consent items, finance.
Already voted in the budget, under 6.
Okay, first item is payment of current invoices. All of those invoices should have been in your packet. Do you have any questions about any of those payments?
So I noticed every month, we have a in lieu of transport. Why do we have so many of those? Some of them are pretty costly. Is that all through special ed? Is it?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, those parents are transporting their child. Actually, there might be some instances where it's not special ed, where it's just people who live
Not on a bus
very
route?
far out, so they're driving their child to someplace where they can do bus.
I got you.
So, but there are other instances where maybe it's easier for the parent to transport their child all the way to school because of,
Okay.
for whatever reason.
I guess they make application and then that's determined.
Yeah, that would be determined through transportation, I believe. Alan signs off on those before we do those. If you guys are okay with the invoices and don't have any questions, then we'll go on to supplements and transfers.
Did the federal government agree to go ahead with the extended contract on those modular units
Um,
with, to fund those?
Actually, that's, the
Another
next
part.
item down on there is our, is where Modular Genius has come back with a proposal to extend that lease. My understanding is that we go ahead and approve that, and then FEMA didn't want to, they already have an agreement with us up until a certain point, and so that ends in December for reimbursement, so they didn't want us to go back to them to go farther with that until closer to the extension, until the expiration of that one. So, yeah, my understanding is we go ahead and make our agreement with these modular people because they're the people who we already have an agreement with. It's not like we're gonna find somebody else and have those torn out and bring in new ones.
Right.
And then, yeah, they will be able to cover that. So yeah, I'll get to that one in just a second. But supplements and transfers, a lot of these were where state aid is adjusted a little bit throughout the year for various things, one of those being new charter schools. So when that happens, they adjust the amount that the counties are going to get just a little bit. So some of these supplements and transfers are because of little changes because of that. You might see that the note says based on the release of final comps. So that means they've made some adjustments to our final dollar amounts. So that's just what those journal entries mean. A couple of smaller grants. One of those is a state matching grant, and it doesn't specify there, but that's for food service. So that is if we need some food service equipment, that comes out of that grant. Really, the balance of those is just adjustments to those final allocations for the year. The next item is a contract with Modular Genius, and that is an extension of our current lease for 2 more years. And maybe at that point we won't need those anymore. Be great. But then if we did need those for whatever reason, we can go ahead and renegotiate a longer lease period. We are currently paying $59,342 per month for the lease of the modulars at Summersville Middle. With this extension, they are going to decrease that amount to $50,440 per month, a decrease of $8,900 per month. However, they are increasing the tear down amount. We lease those, so they're not going to be ours at the end of this period, and then that company comes in and tears those down and takes them away. So even though we're going to be paying less per month, they're going to increase the amount of tear down at the end. But all of this is reimbursed through FEMA, so it's not really a cost to us. But just for the record, they came back and they gave us the same lease dollar amount that they did that we're under now, and I said, it's like last time, do you think that since these are kind of old, we could pay a little bit less on our monthly lease? And they came back and they did it. So now I'm just going to ask everybody if we can pay less and see where it gets.
Yeah. Sounds like a plan.
I know, it's worked out pretty well so far. So there is that. Okay, we put some things out for bid since last time. These 3 are all through food service. Bid for chemicals, dish machine products, a bid for bakery products, and a bid for fluid milk and dairy. And so I gave you the summaries from each of those bid openings, and for each one of those, there was only one company who gave us a bid.
Sherry, could you kind of explain what the gentleman was talking about? I mean, you can't explain it. I mean, I'd never heard of that before.
Tell her to be nice.
We'll talk about it later.
You have to have rigid standards, don't you, when you, you just can't take, never mind.
No, she's not.
We better move on to monthly treasurer's report.
Okay, the next item is the monthly treasurer's report for April. Okay, you can see that we've collected almost all that we have had budgeted for property taxes and excess levy at this point in the year. Interest, we've done pretty well on interest this year. Hope that will continue into next year, although it's hard to say, but we've collected way more than we budgeted last year for interest. Rentals, that was where we had rented the Falta shelter to them, and we're not doing that anymore. So there's not going to be any more rental income for next year. Let's see if there's anything else here. Expenses in the general fund. As you can see, some of those, we have, a couple months left of the school year as of the end of April. And some of those expenses were already up into the 90% of those. So those are some areas where we're headed a little bit over budget there. Most of those in the 70%, those are, that's pretty much what you would expect for this time of year. And then as we are getting closer to the end of the year, if we see that our tax collections are going to exceed what we had budgeted, then we will go in and make budget adjustments, and we'll budget more into those revenue items and then more into these expense items where we are looking a little bit low. Do you guys have any questions about that? We talked about budget a little bit previously, and so just to note on this, these monthly financial updates, this budget is not the same dollar amount as what the original budget was put in for this time last year, because this includes our carryover. So that's why, if you're trying to compare this to our budget amount that was submitted this time last year, it's not the same dollar amount, because this includes what our activity was, our carryover. So this budgeted amount is more than what our original budget was in the spring of last year. Okay, and the next item is the budget, adopting the budget for next year, which you guys have already done that, so. And then lastly, out-of-state travel, an ROTC trip to Kingwood with a county van, and a trip to 21st Century Community Learning Center's Summer Symposium.
Are those chaperones, are those last names or first names or what? There's this, in that first request. It just has
Oh.
Maddie, Kevin, Fran, Bobby. Are they
That's
all
one person,
one?
that's one person, that's one person. It's last name first.
It's Kevin,
On those
Maddie,
two.
Bobby, Frank.
And then Todd.
Okay, okay. How come everything's in California? Don't we have anything in the eastern part of the United States? I'm sorry, that's all. I don't have any questions. I'll shut up.
Any other discussion or questions for Christie? I don't know, after you made the deal with the modular group, I'm gonna start calling you Kevin.
I don't know if he would have done that.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion to accept? Consent items, finance, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, and C for the bids. And number 5, the monthly treasurer's report, and the out-of-state travel leased vehicle request 1 and 2.
So moved.
Mr. Moose makes a motion, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Berry. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Personnel.
Good evening. We just have the one strike through and the one addition that Mr. Bean mentioned earlier. The rest of it is as presented. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is this Jennifer Cole, the lady from Raleigh County? Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Were these the ones that were ripped?
Some of them, yes.
And some of them left on?
Yes,
Right.
yes. Some of the professionals that we are employing were on the RIF list, and some of them were in other positions that are moving into posted positions.
So,
Like shifting around.
so how many open positions do you have?
Right now, we have 2 at Cherry River. We have 2 at Richwood High School. I have 1 at Nicholas County High School, 2 at Summersville Middle School, 1 at Richwood Middle School. And that's it.
So 8? You've done well.
Well, no, we're whittling it down. So we still have some service personnel. That's all professional.
Okay.
So we have some service personnel that are still shifting, but it's getting closer.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the personnel agenda as presented?
Make the motion.
Mr. Green makes a motion, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Moose. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 13, reports, SESC, Mr. Ferguson.
Nothing to report at this time.
Bright Horizons, Mr. Green.
Nothing to report right now. They postponed the meeting to the 30th.
Okay. Does anybody have any items for future agendas? Okay. Future meeting dates, I'm missing 8. Not on mine. Regular meeting Monday, June 3rd, here at the board office at 6 p.m. And the next one is Monday, June 17th, here at the board office at 6 p.m.
We have that special meeting on May 22nd.
Oh.
It was after I put the
Yes.
agenda out.
Expulsion hearing this Wednesday. Expulsion hearing at 8:30.
Repeat those. I only have June 17th on here.
Yeah.
But I will make sure,
June
3rd and 17th.
June 3rd, 7th.
So
Okay,
both
yeah.
at 6 o'clock.
both here.
Right,
And then Wednesday at 8:30.
right. Gotcha, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Ferguson made the motion, seconded by Mr. Perry. All in favor? Aye. At 6:47.